Welcome to Binge Theory, the coolest corner on the internet. I am Julian, and today I have Logan.
Hello.
And I have Eric.
Hello.
And today we're going to be discussing The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, Chapter 14, titled The Tragedy. Gentlemen, right off the bat, I think this was one of the most memorable episodes. I can't wait to just dissect this and go into it and see what your thoughts were. I want to, hand it over to Logan because I want to get your first impressions because of the three of us, you're kind of the Star Wars aficionado. Eric's the industry guru, and I'm just the, 6 degrees of separation nerd, where I can kind of draw references to everything else. But Logan, since you are force sensitive, so to speak, if you can please indulge us with your insights.
Talk about two home runs in a row. I mean, from the introduction of Ahsoka to the reveal, not reveal, which I guess you did call in episode one or the first one of the podcast that, Boba Fett, IMDb couldn't hide him forever, is here and has been introduced, albeit in another kind of almost intentionally anticlimactic way. It was very interesting to see how he ended the episode with a bang, if you will. But it was just a very, very anticlimactic, almost inappropriately nonchalant kind of an entrance. And I like the way that they've been kind of disrupting the status quo of what you think should be like this like dramatic reveal of this famed character everybody's been waiting decades to see again. And they're just like, just kind of shows up like, I'm just a simple man traveling around on my spaceship. That's all I am, when he's so not. He's so much more than that. And the way they introduced that was really cool. I think part of it certainly goes to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni for the way they've kind of set up that non-status quo of just a feel for the entire Mandalorian series. But I can't help but think part of it has to be Robert Rodriguez, who directed this episode, and his kind of personal choices and the way that the statements that he makes as a director.
I think that's an excellent point. Robert Rodriguez, known for, of course, Desperado and that whole Antonio Banderas run. Matter of fact, I saw some definite shots that reminded me of Desperado, where Fennec, who made a surprising return with her new abs of steel, if you will. And she did some of that, genre-defining jumping backwards and shooting at the same time, gunplay, as well as the homage to Indiana Jones with the rolling boulder and a lot of other, clever little winks and nods. I would want to get Eric's thoughts as well, because I texted both of you as soon as I saw this because I was losing my mind and I couldn't wait to get here to this point and start just dissecting the whole thing. But Eric, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was. They're really opening this can of possibilities at this point, man. It was really neat to see Boba Fett. I wasn't really clear on exactly how he got to that same planet. Does he have like some kind of tracking system where he could track where the Mandalorian was going, or was he just happened to be on that planet? I don't know.
Well, he's Boba Fett,
Okay.
Well, he would have tracking in the armor that Mando had. So he would be able to track his armor, I would imagine.
Now that being said,
okay.
let's And I'm sorry, Eric. I don't want to catch you off. Did you have any other thoughts? Because I don't want to start going into the
Yeah.
critical analysis.
No, sure. There's a lot of. It was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I found the dark troopers to be really interesting. That was a fun moment. Definitely reminded me of like Iron Giant for some reason. I don't know why. I'm sure there's some other reference that you could get from those fellas. But no, it was just a really cool episode. I'm just so excited to see where the whole thing is going to go. And to see Baby Yoda kind of progress a little bit. I saw some new abilities from him when he's in distress. And then, the whole kind of cylinder where he's I would assume summoning other Jedis and stuff like that. It was just fascinating. I mean, there's a lot of thought went into writing the script for that episode, and it really showed. So yeah,
I couldn't agree more. To me, this was my favorite episode, only because of the bringing Boba Fett. And I know we don't want to make this the Skywalker universe and all of that, bringing the old toys into the new toy chest, so to speak. But when we saw the first teaser of Boba Fett's armor in the Jawa transport, and to that point that you brought up, Logan, about having a tracker in his armor, it seems a little roundabout way for him to not just go up to the Jawas and take it, because he was on the same planet with them. He literally or go get it from Timothy Oliphant and just take the armor. Then it was a little odd that he traveled halfway across the galaxy to then just ask for it when he could have. But it is what it is. I'm not going to belabor that point. I will say this, that even though we saw him in that episode, the first reveal at the end, that was the first episode, right, of season 2. Even though we saw him at the end of that, and we had a discussion of whether or not that was actually Boba Fett, and I remember saying they're not that clever. It's just going to be Boba Fett. It's because it could have been one of the clones, and the age is a little off because I think Tamora Morrison is like 50 something, and Boba should be 40 something. But it again, it's we're talking lightsabers and land speeders. We just go along for the ride. I loved and I'm sorry, because I think, Logan, you were saying last episode that was when you saw Ahsoka, and you literally were audibly yelling at the screen, or just that's how I was when I saw Slave One. Just coming when he's at the Jedi Temple, and which essentially Stonehenge, but and you hear a noise, and then he looks up, and you see Slave One just coming in, and I have not seen Slave One since obviously the Clone Wars. Is it the Clone Wars? Yeah,
the second movie, not the animated series.
Correct. That is correct.
Or the second prequel.
Yes, and. It was you talk about the member berries and the fields and all of that, and again I mentioned this before in some of our earlier podcasts where I was saying Tamora Morrison, I've been a huge fan of his since his at least the big feature film that I saw him in was called Once for Warriors, which is shot in New Zealand, and it has to deal with a lot of Polynesian culture, especially the I believe it's called the tohe. It's a weapon that they use. And Eric, I remember when you first saw him in the the Tusken garb and that staff. Now that's the same staff as I remember that the Tusken Raiders, when they first knocked Luke Skywalker out in Episode 4. When he was but right before he saw Ben Kenobi, and the Tusken was raising the I think it's a banta stick maybe, but it was the way that Tamora Morrison was using it was that was strict Polynesian fighting.
That was brutal.
The fight choreography in this was some of the most brutal I've ever seen. It's not just hitting a stormtrooper in the head and they fall over. No, he was cracking helmets with that staff of his, and the way he utilized it was just savage. And of course I gotta, when he shows up, when he goes to get his armor and he comes back to the fight, and the fact that it didn't really fit him like it used to was kind of cool, but still, it gives you that the feeling of passing of time. Mm-hmm. And it's like, he's dusting off his old, armor and putting it on. And sure, it doesn't fit as well as it did back in, episode 7, episode 6. But again,
man, did it still work? I mean, even Mando stepped back and just watched him take everybody out and went, "Oh, yeah, he knows how to use that."
Exactly, and we also got, and Eric, you brought up the dark. What are they called again, Logan? The dark troopers. Not that impressed. Because they didn't. I mean, maybe they will do something, but
I disagree.
Yeah. What do they bring to the table that the droids?
They're the only stormtrooper that's accomplished a task they've been given.
Yes.
I don't mean to make complete light of it, but every other group or legion or troops of stormtroopers have failed. And
they're completely robot, though. They're not like...
It does appear as if they are right now, but there have been 2 versions of Dark Troopers that have kind of come and gone through. This was one of the ones that was first saw in some of the older Star Wars Dark Forces games, and I think Battlefront as well was the one they were actually in. There's also kind of a clone type version with some force powers. So I think they're probably going to use both at some point, but they haven't had, Grogu to drain them dry and try and implant them in whatever clones Moff Gideon wants to use. So I feel like it's kind of version 1, version 2. So they're going to use both of them in this, is what it looks like. Speaking
of which, talk about life imitating art. There, and again, I don't know the veracity of this. I've seen it on several of the larger news channels, and I don't want to talk about life outside of this bubble, but just for parallel comparison, apparently they're trying to do a super soldier thing in China. Did you hear about that? With some literal genetic modifications. Think about universal soldier. Something along those lines, like genetic enhancement, and again, this is not something that was on the dark web. This was being broadcast on some of the major affiliates. Just this is something that they're looking into. So, yeah, I can see that where you just keep trying to make a better
technology just has to catch up to media.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not like the military is really inventive. They just watch Star Trek and say, "Ooh, yeah, let's do that." The telecommunications. Ooh, what's that? A flip phone? That's a brilliant idea. Mm-hmm. Why don't I try that? I'm still waiting for my lightsabers, quite frankly. But speaking of lightsaber and the dark saber and the interrogation of Baby Yoda and the baby handcuffs that they had at the ready.
They have already had him once, so it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. They've been kidnapped. And what about that? Do you think that's a little redundant, them getting him captured and then losing him and then getting him again? Is that the story? Empire meets baby, Empire loses baby, Empire gets baby back. Is that the new story?
Maybe.
Yes.
It's kept us entertained so far.
Yes, but let this be the last time that they get their hands on Grogu, because it just seems like their incompetence is beginning to show a lot. And
well, I think the interesting was during that scene in particular, I actually found myself holding my breath. Like, is he going to kill them? Like, between some of the conversation that Ahsoka had about, there's lots of fear in you and this weird attachment and, that blackout period between Order 66 and whenever he resurfaced and everything, like, are we literally on the precipice of Dark Yoda, so to speak?
Oh, yeah. That was the impression that I got too, Logan. I'm not really sure if he's going to be a good guy or a bad guy. With all of his his poor upbringing. No, especially with those black eyes that he's got. Who knows?
Well, and he does have a propensity to just eat beings, frogs, eggs, and stealing Malamar cookies, and I mean, don't get me wrong, infants are savage. they don't have that moral compass, I guess, that most people do. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows, that could be an interesting turn. Now, I don't want to give the internet too much, authority here, but I've been seeing rumors, and I've talked to some people that said, wouldn't it be interesting, playing script doctor here? Wouldn't it be interesting if that signal that Grogu sent out into the Wi-Fi range, he came across Luke Skywalker?
I hope to God not.
Now, hear me out on this.
No.
Portrayed by Sebastian Stan.
I think it would undo all the good that The Mandalorian has done for the Star Wars franchise so far.
If they made him a feature character, but maybe kind of like they did with, and again, I'm just throwing movie references out here, Superman at the end of Shazam, where it's kind of like an over-the-shoulder shot, or just like a quick, oh yeah, there's that guy, and then he's gone. So it's just he touches it and goes away. Maybe something like that.
I mean, I appreciate there are a very limited number of Jedi options left in the post-Order 66 world, but no, just let Skywalker be done.
Let his Force ghost go.
If they can't even use it if they can't even not have to use him or that family as kind of a last minute MacGuffin or a save the day kind of a thing, then there is very little hope for quite some time for where Star Wars is going. They have to trust in, I think, and use the vast amount of history and media that they've created that is substantial and fantastic, and let the franchise stand on that as opposed to on one family's shoulders.
I 100% agree. Logically, storytelling wise, production wise, 100%. But wouldn't it be cool? That's the other hand.
No, it would be for me at least.
Yeah,
I would rather see bring one of the video game Jedi people who are left out and have them come up. Bring a Kyle Carton or something app and just have them kind of appear. Or you know what? You want to give the internet credit? I'll give the internet credit one. Have a one-handed Mace Windu come and take him.
That's what I was going to throw out.
That one I would take. That I would take in a heartbeat.
Now, my own
show.
Yes. Now, here's my only. And well, there's two parts. One is that the internet was murmuring about two characters: the young Jedi from Rebels, and I forget his name.
Ezra Bridger.
Yes.
And that's the thing though. That's who Ahsoka is trying to find. Okay. We're not entirely positive, at least as far as I've read online, whether this particular Mandalorian season takes place before or after the end of Star Wars Rebels. So there's question as to where in the Rebel storyline is this, which would indicate then where Ezra is or not. And since Ahsoka's looking for Thrawn, either it's post-Rebels and Thrawn survived kind of their ending attack at the end of Rebels, or it's pre the end of Rebels and everybody is still out there and available, which then would, I guess, theoretically make Ezra available. But why? Like, there's no Baby Yoda in that series or Grogu in that series. So that would be an odd side quest to not mention in Rebels. But yeah, yeah.
Well, and again, this is just internet jabber. One final thing, going back to the Mace Windu, and I think I even mentioned that wouldn't it be cool if Mace Windu showed up in one of our earlier episodes? Just with maybe he lost both of his hands, or was it just one hand at the hands of Anakin?
I don't actually recall.
Yeah, but he got, lightninged out the window, and obviously we know that doesn't kill you because everybody who's ever fallen down something survives miraculously.
It was just two
But-
floors down.
Exactly, and again, what's the force for if you can't stop yourself from falling out of a World Trade Center type building? But I'm thinking about the timeline, and again, Star Wars. But remember, Mace Windu was probably late 30s or early 40s when he killed Jango Fett. And Boba Fett is now 40 something years old. Let's say, being generous, he was probably 10 when that happened. So let's just say it's 30 years after that.
Right.
So that would make, Mace Windu like 70, which is probably not far from how Sam L actually is. But,
Mace Windu is played by Morgan Freeman. That's fine too.
Yeah. Well, it's, again, we I think we had on another podcast the discussion of melanin and how it's an anti-aging device. That's the superpower is, you're treated horribly for so much longer. But anyway, so that was my only thing is I would love to see Mace Windu just do a cameo. I don't think Sam L would ever turn anything down, but for him to just show up real quick, maybe a little scarred up, with a animatronic hand would be an interesting twist. Or they could go in a different direction and have a Jedi that we've never seen before. But I have a feeling that they're trying to stay formulaic. And the last thing I'll say before, because I want to get Eric's thoughts on some of this is, what about the spinoff murmurs about a Boba Fett prequel that they're talking about? And this would go to the whole Sarlacc pit escape, and it would tell that story. Or they were also talking about, doing potentially, something, with, I heard several spinoff theories. One of Boba Fett, and the other one would be back with the Gina Carano and that whole like Western type setup with Carl Weathers. Kind of like these parallel stories, which I think is fantastic. Eric, what do you think? Do you think they're going to be thinning their cast by doing more spinoffs, or have you heard anything about any spinoffs coming down the pipe?
No, I mean, I thought I heard some kind of rumors about the Ahsoka Tano as a possible spinoff, and I did hear the news early on about a potential movie on Boba Fett, just kind of like a one-off, but that didn't come to fruition. This is back in like the Rogue One days and stuff like that. There was some talk about that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much appetite there is. Maybe there's a lot, but I'd just like to see how this one wraps up this season, and hopefully there's some satisfaction at the end of this season, and I don't know. I'm enjoying the ride.
Well, there are just 2 episodes left, so whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen fast. And
right.
And thanks for reminding me, Eric. Yeah, it was Ahsoka Tano was the other one, and I think we might have even talked about that on last week's episode. But Logan, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think? I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, there are dyed in the wool Star Wars fans, and more Star Wars the better. Obviously, quality is something because you don't want that backlash, the Rian Johnson kind of a pushback. But if they were to do a Ahsoka Tano, spinoff and a potential Mandalorian prequel, do you think that'd be going to the well too many times in a brief period?
No, I think it's exactly what they kind of have to do, or at least I would do in their place. I think the biggest risk was using an unknown Star Wars character, a no-named Mandalorian, as their first live-action show. But they had the benefit of the appetite was just so ravenous for something to come that there was a lot of expectation in there, and that it was an incredibly well-done series, no matter who was in it or what it was about.
Right.
So they had a double whammy there for that first season. But I think it was a riskier move than going with a Boba Fett or an Ahsoka Tano or a, just a more established, still secondary kind of a character. So now doing that, I think it affords them bigger second and third victories, because now you've not only seen these, you've seen the quality that they can be, and now you want to know these people's stories. And I think they've already started to lay that out. They laid out a lot in that episode with Ahsoka about, what she's been through and what she's looking for and where she might be going, or the types of stories that you could tell in hers. And I think they did a lot of that with Boba Fett. And I think some of it stems from the questions that you asked earlier, Julian, which was, why didn't he take his armor from the Jawas? You could argue, okay, well, Mando in his armor couldn't even get anything back from the Jawas, so maybe there was no way, even Boba Fett could have without his armor. But why didn't he take it from Cobb Vanth? That wouldn't have been hard.
Yeah, that's the
I wouldn't have even seen it coming.
Yeah, because don't get me wrong. I mean, Boba Fett without his armor probably couldn't, take out a Jawa transport.
No, never going to happen. But I think the thing about Boba Fett is you always think of him as, a bounty hunter, and bounty hunters are questionable or villains or bad guys, and he was some aspect of a villain in the original trilogy, but only because he was hired to capture Han Solo. He didn't have anything against the rebellion. He didn't have anything against the Empire at that point. I would argue he probably does now, considering the history of the clones and the cloning and stuff.
Well, and also that a Jedi took off his dad's head.
A Jedi took off his dad's head. So he hates everybody, for some reason or another. And he's a bounty hunter doing his business, and he's clearly attached to some sort of a code by the end of the series. Like, no, we said we would keep him safe and we didn't. So we're with you until he's safe. So is there a sense of honor and a sense of a code that's being developed? And is that why he didn't take the armor from Cobb Vanth? Because Cobb was honorable. He was protecting a town. He saw the good that it was doing, and yes, he was going to get his armor back, but not at the expense of, taking out a good person or somebody doing right with it. Like, I think, there hasn't been as much depth to Boba Fett as many other Star Wars characters, and a lot of what I saw this episode doing was starting to plant those hints and plant those questions and really get into, maybe there's so much more to him. Boy, I'd love to see, what really is, who is Boba Fett really, and that's all you need for a spinoff.
That is true. That is true. I am curious to see the path that led him to being a armorless person and how the Jawas came by it. But I think we talked about that before, where it could be that he was in the Sarlacc pit and the Sarlacc got killed by the dragon. But again, how he lost his armor, that I guess that would be revealed in the prequel if they went that route.
Absolutely.
Also, I hear what you're saying in regards to, the armor's doing good with, Timothy Oliphant's character. What was it?
Cobb Vanth.
Yeah, Cobb Vanth. I don't know. I don't know. But,
and that's the only thing that's going to make all our heads spin and wonder and tune in for the premiere episode of the Boba Fett spinoff.
Exactly. And to be fair, mystery is what made Boba Fett such an enigma. I mean, the cool looking helmet, but it was the mystery because you didn't know anything about him. And now, based on what you do know and seeing him in action, the fact that Han Solo, a hardened smuggler, was terrified when Chewbacca said, Boba Fett's here. And his reaction was that of acknowledgement, like Boba Fett. So he had obviously a reputation throughout the galaxy. And even Darth Vader said, when they, in Empire Strikes Back, I need him alive, Boba Fett. I know about you, no liquidation or whatever he said to him. But so, yeah, Boba, now that you see him in action, especially when doing that hand-to-hand melee combat and utilizing his tools, you see what just a force to be reckoned with he is. And And I'm so glad that Tomorrow got to really, play that up because, and again, they're bringing him back. It will look even more ridiculous when you look at Jedi and see how he fell into the Sarlacc pit. That aside, I remember in Empire Strikes Back just how cool he was because he wasn't doing anything, but he carried himself with kind of that entitlement of, yeah, I'm, the baddest guy in the galaxy. People know me, people fear me. And
I'm gonna withhold judgment.
What on the development of the future, or you
on
just
Boba Fett? On Boba Fett, I'm gonna hold back my. I think he's got bad intentions. I don't think we know everything that that Boba Fett might have in store. I mean, he has taken missions from the Empire before. How do we know he's not still working with them somehow in the background?
You know what's interesting?
That this is just another foot soldier out there trying to capture Baby Yoda. So I don't know a lot about it, but all I know is that a bounty hunter is a bounty hunter, and that is a stain, if you will, that's hard to rub off.
Well, and everybody's a hero in their own story. So yeah, if you're looking at it from his context or only looking at certain aspects of him, sure, he can be a hero. Here's two things. One, that's completely plausible because they did not blow up Slave One. They blew up the Orion Seacrest, which was, of course, very, very disheartening. But the silver ball, he found the silver ball, which was great. The gear shift
and the staff, of course, because
yes, the staff, that was pretty cool. The Beskar staff. That would be quite a turn, Eric, if Boba Fett were to basically, double cross the Mandalorian. I thought it was a little cheesy. It was a little too on the nose when Boba Fett reveals himself and he goes, "I'm just a simple man making his way through the universe, like my father." There's no context for that. Mandalorian doesn't know who your father is, so why would you bother? I'm getting a little animated here, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, that's the thing. See, the Moff Gideon has the tracker. We know that he's tracking Mandalorian, no problem, right? And then all of a sudden, Boba Fett's there on the planet that they're on. I'm like, what? Well, wait a second here. Like, anyway, I'm watching that Boba Fett with one eye open. So,
gotcha. You're not trusting him, which is,
not yet.
But what, to be fair, excellent point, because the Mandalorian is an honorable man. I guess for the job, it depends. It depends if because he has no problem throwing you in carbonite and all that stuff. He's just doing his side hustle. He's doing the intergalactic grind, if you will. He's just going from bounty to bounty. Boba Fett, first of all, never said he was Mandalorian. He just said, my father was a foundling, and he got the armor, and that's my father's armor. So he was, and we talked about this before. I don't think Boba Fett's technically a Mandalorian. I don't think he followed the Kree or anything like that. I think it's his birthright. So I think I even used the term legacy. He just shows up like a guy trying to get into a fraternity. Like, yeah, my dad was here. You got to take me. But I think it'll be interesting. But you're right. Boba Fett has never been deemed as a honorable hero. And this was, definitely a, where they're on the planet and the two stormtrooper transports show up. He was, fighting to defend himself. He wasn't fighting really for a cause. So, good point, Eric. You gotta don't let him, walk behind you, so to speak.
Well, and now the Mandalorian's going to be riding in his ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've kind of joined forces at least for a little while, and I don't know. We'll
Enough
see.
to put out a new line of toys for the ship, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
That I remember I had that one toy. That was the coolest. I was a little concerned, and I thought it was kind of a misdirection, if you will, when Slave One is flying after the two transports, and he goes through the clouds, and then you see like an Imperial ship, and he's like, I see an Imperial ship. The Empire's back. Well, yeah, you were just fighting the Empire soldiers. We all know they're back. But then he got way too close, and then he started turning around. I was like, and I'm biting my nails, like, no, don't do it. Obviously the typical thing would be to have him get blown out of the sky, but nothing happened. That's why I thought it was kind of an inconsequential moment to have him see the Empire ship that we already saw, that we already knew was there. I think that was probably an intentional misdirect, because that's a lot of special effects to just throw in there for no reason.
Boy, it was so cool to see that ship. That Empire ship was impressive. Man, that was awesome.
It is. Now, and again, I'm trying to throw science on science fiction, but those Death Troopers, or what are they? Black Troopers, Death Troopers, Dark Troopers.
Dark Troopers.
The Dark Troopers, when they were flying off Baby Yoda. First of all, let's talk about some of the puppetry with this episode. I loved it. Every scene from when he's Baby Yoda's just sitting in the chair, and you talk about the father-child bond just blooming. And we talked about it with the last episode with Ahsoka, and she said, you have a connection, make him take the ball. And we were talking about how it's basically intergalactic catch, and Boba and Baby Yoda is playing catch with his adoptive dad, if you will. And when they're sitting in, right when this episode starts off, they're sitting in the ship, and Boba Fett, I keep saying Boba Fett, wow, the Mandalorian turns around and says, Grogu, and Grogu looks up at him adoringly, and he's laughing. He's like, he's enjoying that he can finally communicate with the baby. And then he's like, give me the ball. And then, he's like, take it just like before. And then the baby takes it, and he's like a proud papa, like, yes. And the baby drops it like, well, and he's like, no, you did good. Just that whole pride that Mandalorian was feeling towards Baby Yoda. And he's like, you did good, kid, you're special, and all that. And that it's gonna end in tragedy probably, because he's like, when we get to a Jedi, and if they want to take you, you got to go. But where that's going. Either Mandalorian will change his mind, or something's going to happen to him. But they're not going to willingly separate. I don't see that happening. So something's going to happen. And and also the puppetry when because I was looking at the scenes when Baby Yoda was going for the ball, and he was doing his, as Carl Weathers would say, the hand thing. But just the puppetry, of a puppet trying to use the Force was pretty impressive. Yeah. And of course, when he was playing, throw a trooper, or as in the Marvel universe would be called, I guess, get help.
Yeah, get help.
Get help. I don't like get help. and he was just slamming the stormtroopers back and forth. And I want to give, again, another callback. That cell reminded me a lot of the one Princess Leia was in episode 4. No frills, just a slab that you sit on. And little Baby Yoda, of course, he's so small. It's insane that they're interrogating Baby Yoda. And he had, but I like how Giancarlo Esposito, Moff Gideon knew that after beating up the troopers, because he was like, wait, let him beat them up. And then, and Eric, you need to tell me how your fiance felt when little Baby Yoda got tired, and also when he was sitting on the temple. And again, I'm giving the internet a hashtag, because it was Baby Yoda yoga, and because he was sitting there, doing the pose on the rock to get his Wi-Fi going. But Eric, all those scenes, all those adorable scenes, what was your fiance's reaction to that?
Yeah, she really, she was just worried, when he was on the rock, doing the cylinder of the Force, and then because she knew eventually that it was going to run out and that the troopers were going to get him. And she was petrified when that happened. And then he got up into the ship, and it seemed like he was kind of fending him for himself. But then he got the little baby handcuffs on, and she was just sad again. And so yeah, she's very she's in mourning for Baby Yoda right now, because he's been captured again, and he's not with the Mandalorian right now. So
the episode indeed was a tragedy.
Yes.
You see what I did there?
Oh,
that was a good connection.
They should pay me to write this stuff. Now, Logan, what type of a horrible organization would have baby handcuffs? What is that all about? At the ready, because you never know when you're going to have to, Oh, and also now this upset me. This was worse than when the two speed bike stormtroopers were hitting the bag with Baby Yoda in it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stun gun a baby? Because even after Baby Yoda was tired, and Moff Gideon flashes the dark blade, and he's like, oh, not for you. Yeah, you'll put your eye out, kid. Not for you. And then he said,
which is a fun reference from the first movie.
Oh yeah, and then he's like, stun him. So the little, he's already tuckered out, and the little baby was like just barely hanging in there, and then he just stuns him. It's like, don't tase me, bro. But yeah. What are your thoughts about that, Logan? Do you think they're intentionally touching our buttons to get us more, just see the dire straits of the situation, that they're mistreating Baby Yoda?
I mean, I think they're certainly not trying to portray any kind of redeeming qualities of the Empire or remnants of the Empire in any way. So they're not graying the black and whiteness between the Empire and the Force, and everybody else, kind of good and bad type things. And I mean, there's been lots of either stories or other kind of both legends and now canon again type history of the Empire doing crazy experiments and trying to find Force sensitive children and keep them either from going to the Jedi or turn them to themselves. I mean, the Empire through the Clone Wars had the Inquisitors, which were Force sensitive kind of evil users and stuff like that. So it's not, for an organization that is as starkly evil as the Empire, I think baby-sized Force dampening shackles are the least of the things we should expect from them.
And I wasn't aware. So those shackles temper down the Force? Is that
it appeared that way? I don't know why else you would bother putting the little light up special effects in it. But I know they've had that in. It's been displayed in, I think, Clone Wars, and I don't remember if I saw them in Rebels, but they used them on, I want to say it was Darth Maul, actually, once Ahsoka captured him on Mandalore. But yes, they do have ways to kind of dampen and stop that kind of stuff. So with everything that the Empire's been up to, I'm not surprised they have them in pint-sized version as well.
Yeah, the extra small. Yes, for the little Jedi. It's like a Fisher Price play set, But so I get it. It would be similar to like the X-Men collars they put on them to
totally
inhibit their mutant abilities. But you're right. That they're just diabolical. And again, the obvious reference is to the Nazis. So we all know they did some horrific things, especially to children. So this, it seems like they're just leaning into that. And again, I want to see, how do you think, let's just play, script doctor slash fortune teller. Where do you see this going by episode 8, Logan?
I think we might get actually season 2 ending on an unresolved climax. I think we're going to see some sense of what the experiments were being done on Grogu, because they did say when they were, or the doctor said in that hologram that, results were positive for a week or two, a couple of weeks. So if Moff Gideon just, a fortnight or whatever, I think he said. So if that's disposable enough to still be of value, then we may have a disposable type force sensitive dark trooper battle to rescue him. I think the fact that he did send a signal means somebody's coming.
Oh yeah, I think that's locked.
And that's not even to say it's just not Ahsoka again.
Yeah.
There are only so many Jedis, and she might have needed to see if he was going to actually even ask anybody else to come before she could know if that was something that she could do or not. So it could be Ahsoka. It better not be a Skywalker. It could be somebody else that we haven't seen or don't know. I think that if it were me, and it might be, kind of seen, I would end on whoever is coming comes, and you don't know if it tips the balance of the standoff, but it's definitely going to change it and leave you wondering and talking until episode 1, season 3.
What do you think, Eric? Do you have any expectations or projections for the final 2 episodes? I know you said you're along for the ride, but do you want to see a specific type of an ending? Do you want to see?
Yeah.
And again, ending I think is relative because obviously you got to keep the franchise going.
Okay, so there's really 3 things that I would like to see. One, I want to see Grogu get the Darksaber somehow. I want to see him possess it. The second thing I want to see is I want to see what the scope is of the Empire at the end of, by the end of this season. I want to know what the scope is of the Empire. Is it just Moff Gideon? Is there another Death Star? How many ships do they have? Give me some kind of idea how strong they are. The third piece, I'm trying to remember. I had it just in my brain just a moment ago. Yes, the third piece is I want to see, believe it or not, I want to see the Mandalorian kind of returning to its roots, where it's really the focus is on the Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda. Like I want to see them pull that back together, because that for me, Favreau has already noted that it's a lone wolf cub type situation with this show, and I want to see it end in that way too. I don't want it just to completely unravel's not the right word, but just
be consumed be consumed.
Universe. I want to see it maintain its core.
That's an excellent point. You're right, because the more characters in the Empire, it becomes just another Star Wars. Whereas, when they're, on the ground level, just, again,
because that's what drew me to this series in the beginning, right? Is that it's a Western kind of, with it's the way that it's shot, the Western sentimentality, the kind of mano-a-mano kind of battles that we get, the landscapes. That's what drew me to the series in the beginning, and I want to see a little bit more of that in what I feel like is a inevitable season 3.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm kind of burnt out on the whole space dogfight. I like the atmosphere dogfights, where they're, flying amongst the clouds. Again, ground level type of stuff, not destroyer against destroyer or fleets against fleets. I'm burned out on that. Almost forgot. They are talking about Bill Burr, because now that the Mandalorian wants to be able to track and find out where Grogu is, he said he went to Gina Carano, and Gina Carano, this is hilarious. So Gina Carano took up the badge, and she is, I guess, the official marshal of that town she was in. And you guys will love this, because when Mandalorian shows up and says, "I need your help," and she goes, "Listen, I just got this job. I can't start, breaking protocols." And he goes, "They got Baby Yoda." And she goes, "Oh, okay, what do you need?" Which was endearing, but then she got on the the computer and started looking up. I said, "Oh, don't get on the computer, Gina. that's not your thing." I was expecting her to start, typing and then banned. But yeah, to that point, she pulled up, some files and she found Bill Burr's character. I forget his name from the earlier episodes, but they're going to be bringing him back with all of his Boston charm, and we'll see, what goes on with that. So, do you think it's going to be kind of like the end game last season where everybody just shows up to save Baby Yoda? They just start coming out of the woodwork.
I mean, I think it's inevitable that we're going to get another one of these incredible physical action type scenes somewhere near the end of the season, because they mastered it at the end of season 1. That was a scene, and the technology there was unlike a lot of other action scenes that we've ever seen before. So we're going to get another one of those for sure.
Excellent point. No, yeah, and one of the things I also and Logan, you had brought this up before about the risk that the Lucas Limited was going to take Disney in regards to going with an unknown Mandalorian. And I know the internet was kind of murmuring about it too, because sure, a Mandalorian is cool, but we know nothing about him. Mm-hmm. That, I think, allowed them to explore all the different facets and kind of see what hit in season 1. So Eric, you're 100% right. They got their rhythm down, so they can just start touching on things. And to your point, not have that universe envelop the Mandalorian story, but have him engage with certain aspects of it, touch and go away, which I think would be ideal. Because I like the reference to the characters, but I don't want him just to be a supporting character in a larger story. It should stay the Mandalorian story, absolutely. And the Lone Wolf and Cub it's endearing. And back to that point about them doing this whole series, not really knowing what to expect. I think because if you go back to your roots, and again, George Lucas made this film with obviously Kurosawa's influence, Flash Gordon, basically the best things of his childhood, putting it into a storytelling vehicle. This is the same thing. This is, Kurosawa, Lone Wolf and Cub. So it wasn't like they were exploring new territory. They were just retelling prior tropes that are proven. And also because they were trying to recreate the magic of the first episodes 4, 5, and 6. I think they did it brilliantly, where they said, well, yeah, we can do all these things, but let's just try to retrace what Lucas did. Let's get some specific influences from these specific directors and just retell those kind of stories in this universe. And I think that was one of the most brilliant things they did, because when people try to expand and go off in different directions, it's hit or miss. It could be brilliant, but it's not proven properties. So, and again, that's one of the things I love about this episode is you guys have brought so much insight into the points of reference. And obviously, just coincidentally, we watched Yojimbo before this whole thing came out, and then it all falls into place because you're like, oh yeah, and especially in the Ahsoka. On the Instagram, you'll see on Binge Theory Instagram, we posted a shot-by-shot comparison to Yojimbo, where Ahsoka's walking into town or walking down the main street, exact same shot. And the rival gang is at the end of the street, exact same shot. So they are trying to recreate proven things. They're not exploring, they're putting their own flavor on it, but everything is just, it's all homage.
Yeah. I'm eating it up. I mean, you give me a weekly serial that has some elements of Westerns in it, I'm there. With Kurosawa, yeah, sold.
Yeah. One point that I did think of while we were talking about this, though, of all the names we've thrown out, we haven't thrown out the one name that has also been rumored to getting his own spin-off.
Mm-mm.
Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan.
Ah, yes.
Oh, but do we want that? No, I
It's as
don't.
far
I mean,
as I would be willing to go into the Skywalker family, if you will.
no, I'm sorry. I mean, I would be okay with Ewan McGregor's spinoff, but do we want Ewan McGregor?
Is that his spin-off?
Wait a second. I'm trying to do the timeline here. Is Obi-Wan still alive? Oh no, he died in episode 4. So yeah, I'm sorry. No, he's been long gone by the time this Mandalorian show started.
That's right.
Because this takes place after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we could have visions. It would be really hard.
Force Ghost.
Even in Yoda said to him after episode 1, you have special training to do with your master who was killed. So does that then open any Jedi's Force Ghost to be Grogu's trainer and have any kind of training or cameo or plan or job or whatever that way? Like, does it pull in the world of spirits in order to do it?
You know what? As exciting as I think that would be, it kind of takes away all the consequence of Jedi's dying. And again, I mean, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. Ever since Tupac came out in a hologram, it seems like anything's possible. So sure, have Obi-Wan Force Ghost show up, but would it? And again, I do have issues with some. Actually, this is something that I've heard on the internet in regards to just overall Star Wars theories. That when the actual Force Ghost, is it technically, a spirit coming down in a form and having a conversation, or is it kind of like you need to be, it's like AC/DC, where you need to be a Jedi and you kind of have the Force in you, and then you're perceiving communication. The only reason I say that is because if Obi-Wan were to train Grogu, would it be Ewan McGregor or, the older Obi-Wan who died, as an older, because there is kind of this whole thing where I think they did like an edit of Return of the Jedi where they put Hayden Christensen in instead of older Vader, which again, it is what it is. But that's just something that I've heard muttered on the internet, is that, the Force Ghost isn't really there. It's more of the Force in you projecting, spirits. Because, I mean, otherwise, what are these Force Ghosts just waiting around for somebody to beckon them? Are they just, watching over everybody and they just show up when you need them? Or is it something around the lines of you have it within you, and when you need it, you call upon it because, I mean,
that's stuff that Lucasfilm and Disney has to sort out, because you've seen it both ways, where it seemed certainly like, Yoda told Obi-Wan that he's totally going to be reaching out to Qui-Gon because Qui-Gon already called him on the spirit phone. Yeah. And you've got, episode 9 where Rey just manages to have everybody's, help there because she happens to will it into existence, kind of a thing. So again, like most things Star Wars, there's both ways that it's been done. So it still leaves it to be seen, I think, what the one true way is. Yeah, no,
it's magic, it's religion, it's wizardry, all that. So it seems a little underwhelming if all these ghosts are just kind of hanging around like you're gonna love this.
They get 2 weeks leave from their ghost planet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, is this whole thing basically what's his name from Roadhouse? Darn, I can't remember his name. What? Say that again, Art? Yeah, Patrick. Is it like Patrick Swayze, where all these Force ghosts are just walking around trying to interact with people that can't see them until or like Sixth Sense? That's probably a better one. They wait for that one person that actually can see them and interact with them. I don't know. It is interesting, and again, but obviously, like let's say for example, when on an Empire Strikes Back, when Luke was dying out in the snow and he got the vision of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's telling him literally where to go, places that Luke would not know to go. So there's obviously some sort of a a communication, but it's just interesting. I mean, it seems, I don't want to say it seems like an easy out where, well, let's just bring back so-and-so in ghost form whenever it's beneficial. But I could be wrong. Yeah,
I'd like to be wrong.
Yeah, I would like to see that. But then again, when we did ask them to explain the Force, and it turned out to be basically, like metachlorian positive blood, everybody lost their mind saying, "What is this garbage?"
And they've
So maybe
equivocated in this
that's
series
when I
and seen it
jumped
both
off.
ways again. So
Nope. I've been
Eric, that's when you jump ship. Is
I'm
when
with all due respect, I don't have any problem with Star Wars fans, but after the Last Jedi, that they just cut my head off. They literally cut my Star Wars head off.
yeah.
And to me, I just look at episode 4, 5, and 6, and like, yep, that's my Star Wars, and I'm done. I don't want to hear anything more from you guys. Maybe I'm just growing up. I don't know.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, I was kind of teetering on Jedi just because,
I was so miffed. I was so miffed. Just, oh my goodness.
I mean,
yeah, no, that's not how the Force works. Anyway.
now you're doing lines from Han Solo. That's not how the Force works.
Just, I mean, if I didn't care about it so much, it wouldn't hurt so bad, So,
True.
yeah.
True. No, and you always have that thing where you have a let's just use an analogy. You have the perfect iPhone. It's perfect. It does everything you need. It has your connectivity. It works properly. Then all of a sudden they say, well, you know what would be better if we took out the ports and, had the buds totally wireless. It's like, well, but why? You had it right. You had it right the first time. What are so I think that's kind of what they're doing is they're always trying to improve upon it. But again, the ones that tend to work are the ones that are proven, the ones that have a solid focus. They're based on a particular genre, the space Western, if you will, and they go down that road. Everything else is a hat on a hat, and it tends to be just spiraling in different directions. Speaking of genres, and I know we're talking a Mandalorian, but the whole aspect of the space Western, if you will. I also have been hearing about the upcoming movie, or maybe a series. I don't know if they've changed their planning on it. But are you familiar, Logan, with the Cowboy Bebop?
Yes, vaguely.
That to me would be something that would be great to be bringing into a series. Again, it's noir. Mm-hmm. It's sci-fi, but it's ground level. It's not some big thing. It's just detective stuff. But anyway, just putting that out there. We can do a whole other series going back and talking about Cowboy Bebop sometime.
Well, I think we'd first have to have, a conversation about, has there ever been a good anime to screen transition?
We touched on that. Yeah. But again, anything's possible. I think, because
just takes one to show them how it's done.
Exactly. Studios are trying to trim the fat. They're trying to keep things on streaming platforms now. Obviously you guys have heard that the Warner Brothers company for the 2021 lineup is doing simultaneous theater and HBO Max releases, which theaters do not like, understandably. But I think that could be the beginning of the end of the large theater franchises. Mm-hmm. Because even when we are back, past this whole current situation with COVID, the hesitance to go something on that kind of a business model where anything could just wipe you out I think will, kind of be factored into the big theater chains. So
I mean, for basically a price of a ticket for just myself, I can get the new movie that comes out the month and all their back catalog. I can make my own popcorn with my own stuff. Like, it's no longer a, $50, $60, $75 event for just a couple. Yeah, I mean, that would pretty well steal it for me.
Yeah. I mean, and again, we'll talk about it on another time, but yeah, the streaming platform is making movie theaters go the way that Netflix took out Blockbuster. It's just the delivery system. It's just better. You don't have the experience, but you have the product. So you're going to have, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a theater fan. I love the whole ritualistic, concessions, sitting in a quiet, big open room.
And
sometimes undistracted.
Yeah. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. I'm just a simple man on a podcast trying to make my way through the internet. But gentlemen,
there's the new sign off every time.
Exactly. We're just simple men trying to understand this series. But no, again. But guys, yeah, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. I think this was again one of my favorite episodes. We got 2 more, that are coming down the pipe. If they stay true to form, I think it's going to be an amazing finale. We did kind of have some trepidation because of some of the fillers that they were having. They weren't as story driving as we would have liked, and again, there are little things in this episode, but all in all, the utilization of Boba Fett and the bringing back. Oh, one last thing. The scars. Do you think those scars are from the Sarlacc pit or just from being a bounty hunter for a long time? Because they never really went into it. I'm sure in the prequel, if they have one, they'll disclose maybe that. And again, I'm kind of answering my own question because, like I was saying before, Logan, they don't really think that deep. It's just, he was in a pit. Now he has scars.
I think the answer is easily just yes.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, he fell on his face, and it's very unfortunate. But
Tatooine's rough.
It's a harsh planet, as they were saying. So, guys, as always, I appreciate that. Anything before we sign off? Because are there anything that you guys are binging? Any things that you want to recommend? We could always throw out something last minute.
I'm watching the Flight Attendant on HBO Max.
Really? Who's in that?
Kaylee Kuko. I don't know how to pronounce her name properly. It's quite good. It's quite good. It reminds me a lot of Mad Men and Dexter, believe it or not.
Ooh.
So it's good. I'm through episode 2. And I can't really talk about it too much because I don't want to spoil it. There's a little bit of a spoiler there in the first episode. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, maybe we will have a branch off to talk about Flight Attendant. Time allowing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but
I hadn't planned on getting a 9th streaming service, but with Warner Brothers announcement, it looks like I probably will be getting the what is it? What are they calling it now? Their HBO Max one or whatever.
Yes. I have HBO Max. Luckily, I didn't even know I had it until I was just going through my apps, and there it was. So.
Yep. And with DC Universe kind of shutting down into a comics only and moving some of their library of stuff over to HBO Max, it was only a matter of time anyway, because my children are young enough that we can pretty much put on Super Friends from the 1960s, and it's safe enough for them to still get to watch superheroes. So that works really well. But no, my wife and I have actually been very much enjoying Star Trek Discovery season 3. So we'll watch that on CBS. It's kind of fun, actually. I like it. Instead of just, binging is great, obligatory, corporate support there. But I kind of like the interim where it's like, a new show is released every Thursday. So you don't have to tune in Thursday at 8 if, the baby's up crying or something else. But that whenever you get to it on a Thursday, you've got a premiere episode of what you're watching. The way, same way Star Wars is doing it, same way some of the others, kind of that hybrid model. And Yeah, Thursdays and Fridays have been Star Trek Discovery and The Mandalorian, and this season of Discovery has just been. I mean, yeah, I am a big Star Wars fan, but even bigger Star Trek fan. So yeah, take that for what it's worth, and how much I do or don't yell at the TV for that one.
I like that. I need to go back and start Battlestar Galactica from episode 1, season 1, and I'll try and catch up on the Star Trek as well.
Battlestar Galactica and Babylon 5 were the two that I got into both just into watching. But like I have an obscene amount of actual props and memorabilia from the shows that I just have collected over the years, and stories with the actors and actresses and stuff that I've met at conventions or done other work with. It's those two shows in particular, I would say, are definitely my core, where I invested a lot of my life. And then Star Trek, and then Star Wars from there.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, we're going to have to do a ranking eventually. So, no, great recommendations. Just two that I had seen recently. I may have even mentioned it last week. Is The Undoing with Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, and the Queen's Gambit with Anya Taylor-Joy. Just phenomenal dramatic films. One was a kind of a murder mystery, a murder hearing history, murder trial mystery. And the other one is obviously the story of a woman whose superpower is her ability to process chess. And she has personal problems, but don't all geniuses. So those are ones I'd recommend as well. Awesome stuff, guys. As always, I appreciate it. Looking forward to next week's episode to see where The Mandalorian, takes us. Everybody out there, do not forget to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mother, because we're in our Jedi tube broadcasting out there to everybody, just like Baby Yoda. And everybody out there, remember to be good to one another, be good to yourselves, and remember, if it's worthwhile, it's worth binging.